Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Kathy Contino-Turner joins us this week. Kathy is no stranger to these abodes. She was here a long time ago as the news director. Well, I won't tell the year.
No,
but
81 to 94, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The building has changed technologically.
I've changed a little too.
Yeah. But
haven't we all?
The building is the same, but the technology is different. But anyway, it's good to see you.
Good to be here.
And you have been over at Masonic Care Community for how many years?
11 years.
11 years. And
lovely place to work. Love it.
Well, it's a nice place to be. I've spent a lot of time over there myself with the Boilermaker and special events like that. But anyway, that's what
we hosted the Boilermaker Expo. I think it was for 15 years.
Boy,
and actually helped build it into what it became. You know, it was just in the Riverside Mall, which doesn't exist anymore either. Boy, we're dating ourselves.
I know.
Be careful now.
Well, it was such a nice jump, not to get too far down this road, but it was a nice jump for the Boilermaker to go from Riverside Mall to Masonic Care
the outdoor
Community.
campus.
Yeah, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Of course, then we had a bad storm over there that one year. It was just awful.
Yeah, I remember being under a tent with 20 people, and the tent went up and down 3 times. And a shout out to Brownie's Tents. They put those tents up. They didn't come down. But boy, that was the turning point. And then, you know, the MVCC had the new facility. So
the Jorgensen Center. Boy, that's a nice facility.
Yep, it is.
Anyway, over at Masonic Care Community, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Right.
It wasn't always Masonic Care Community, though. When I was a young man, which was a long time ago, I remember it being called Masonic Home.
Well, actually, there were 5 different names. It was the Masonic Home and School, the Masonic Home and Hospital, the Masonic Home and Healthcare Center. And right around the year 2000, 2001, because of all the different levels of care, it's a community. So the name Masonic Care Community to incorporate independent living at Acacia Village and adult residential care at Wiley Hall and the Child Care Center, that kind of said it all. And people still call us the home, and that's kind of nice because we are a home. But Masonic Care Community kind of is more of the encompassing name.
Didn't it get started as a home for orphans?
Well, actually, they weren't all orphans. We began in 1893. We just celebrated 125 years, which was great. So we're now in 126 years and counting. It was built by the Masonic fraternity originally for Masons, their wives, widows, and quote-unquote orphans. But we had 976 children come through our campus. Not all of them were orphans. Some had one parent or another, but for whatever reason, the one parent could no longer care for them. And I actually am in control of the Book of the Orphans, and it gives all the information on the kids back up until the mid-late 50s. And it talks about when, say, a father died, the mother could no longer care for the children. They came to live with us. If the mother remarried, the children went back to live with her. But these kids were educated in Utica schools. The Masons paid for them to go to college, and the last child left us in 1982. 1982.
And some of those young people, I was wandering around once over in the cemetery behind.
There's only one child that died. She died of influenza in 1932, and she is buried there. That's the only child that's in that cemetery.
You mentioned, as long as we're talking about history for a second, you mentioned Wiley Hall. That's named after a longtime
Pop Wiley.
Yeah.
William Wiley. He was actually the longest serving superintendent, and he really made the most changes. He came in 1906 or 7, and he changed it from an almshouse where poor people were to a really lovely place to work, or to live, excuse me. And he educated the children, and he made sure our residents had things to do. And he really he was the turning point to make Masonic what it is today, to make it that lovely facility where you can go and live your life.
If I remember my history correctly, Kathy, it got started, our campus here got started by Masons in New York City, yes?
Well, no, it was New York State Masons all over the state, and they decided in 1842 there was a gentleman who said we need to build a place for our brothers and their wives and widows and orphans. And it took a while to raise money. First they built the Grand Lodge in New York City, and then they looked for the place to put it. And they put us in the geographic center of the state. I get a lot of Masons saying, well, why are we located in Utica? Well, we're the geographic center of the state. We're as close to Buffalo as we are to New York City, as we are to Messina, as we are to Binghamton. So we're the geographic center. But there was quite the fight between Rome and Utica. But Utica ended up, we took over the driving park, and actually where we were located in the 1800s, there were several New York State fairs when it used to move around the state, were held on that property. So, and Rutger Street. This was the thing that when we did the history and we did a timeline, and I would invite anyone, if they come visit us, to come in the health facility and go in and see our history. We have a timeline on the wall, so you can see how it developed. But our first entrance was Rutger Street. And I was shocked to learn that, because Bleecker Street was not usable at the time. Within 10 years, they changed to the Bleecker Street entrance.
And how did they get in? Where was the gate to get in?
The gate's still there. It's still there. And it comes down by the cemetery and over the bridge.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, it's still there.
All
It's still, but it's not open.
Right
it's
next
locked.
to Proctor Park.
That's where you came through.
Yeah.
Yep.
And these days, it has evolved. How do you describe to people how it's evolved? You've got Acacia Village. You've got Wiley Hall.
Yep.
Name all the
Well,
sectors.
it's a community of care. We take care of 500 seniors live on our campus. We have independent living. That's Acacia Village. That's living in an apartment. You do your own thing. If you want to go to Florida, you lock your door, you leave, you go, you come back. It's an apartment. There's no skilled nursing there. They do have evening meals if they choose to. They have activities, but there's no skilled nursing. There's no nurses, CNAs, anything like that. The next level of care would be adult residential care at Wiley Hall. And that's just a little bit above assisted living. There is some assistance there, but it's really still for an independent senior. And I like to call Wiley Hall the college dorm, because you're living and you have your dining room downstairs, and it really just reminds me of being in a college dorm. Then there's skilled nursing, and that's nursing home. But even our skilled nursing, our individuals who live in skilled nursing, they're going to concerts, they're going out shopping, they're going to the casino, they're doing all kinds of things. There's 20 or 25 activities every single week for people to do. And one of our residents said, if you can't find something to do, then you're not looking hard enough. And we also then have rehab, which we want to talk about, our inpatient rehab. We have a child care center, and we have a home care agency. Our Acacia Home Care is wonderful if someone comes through rehab and they're going home and they need that little extra help to stay in their own home. We have that available. So we really are a continuum. We cover everything.
How does Masonic Research Lab fit into that mix?
Well, they are not, Masonic Care Community is a separate entity. The research lab rents their building on our property.
Okay. And great things are happening over there as well. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the new construction that you've got coming up.
Lots going on this year. Yeah.
Masonic Care Community, Kathy Contino-Turner. Short break, right back.